Okay, welcome back to headquarters here in Scottsdale. We are back with Spencer Reynolds from Fujikura and Mark Timms, our CEO and founder. And today we are going to talk Ventus, all Ventus.
All Ventus all the time.
Yep.
Ventus for the world.
Yeah, well, I feel like it is that
Yeah,
way,
it kind
right?
of is, isn't it? Yeah.
And I guess that's where we should start. Like, arguably one of the most dominant shafts of all time, getting close to probably that orange shaft that everyone's known about for years and years, and the original.
757.
Yeah, there it is.
Yeah, there you go.
Dominated, way back when.
Yeah, and I guess here it's not just one product in the line.
No.
It's all the products, and it's not the original version. It's the second gen is just as dominant as well. So there's something about this product or this material that is driving it, right?
No, I think the idea was really just born out of, one thing that we're really passionate about at Fujikura is innovation. It's kind of one of our core company values. So our R&D teams and our engineering teams work really hard all the time to see how far we can push boundaries, how far we can push tech, how far we can push materials, what kind of new materials can get integrated. The exciting thing about graphite composites is there's always new stuff to try. And our VP of engineering always says, I'm basically baking a cake and I'm just using the best ingredients I can find, right? And I'm mixing up the recipe as best I can to make the best cake that I can make. It's an amazing ride that we're on right now, and it would be a little dishonest for us to look back and say, oh yeah, we knew this was going to happen. Totally. I mean, we knew we had a great product, right, and we knew it performed at the highest level. But we're really, kind of humbled and pleased at the trajectory it's been on. So you go back to 2019 and you have one profile, right? It's just original Ventus Blue. And we had this new tech that we branded called VeloCore technology, and we're integrating pitch 70-ton material, running the full length of the shaft in combination with kind of a unique bend profile with a softer handle section, a super stiff tip section. We're also in using an accelerated taper, so we're trying to increase speed where we can, and it's just one of those products that the magic recipe sort of came together, and it really just performed on another level. As we start to roll that out onto the PGA Tour and we start to work with it and we grow, we then enhance the line. So we had sort of a low spin mid-launch profile. And then we came with the red and the black, which we basically just bookended that profile. So now you have the black that is very low spin, very low launch. And then you have the red, which is higher launch and sort of low to mid spin. Mark and I were talking about this before we started.
One thing before we get into
this is a good clarification.
Yeah, that's a good time to pull it up, right?
So,
but red is not a high launching shaft.
It is
higher red versus
correct.
The other Ventuses. Yes.
Correct. It is
but in
higher.
all the data we get, it was kind of a mid launching.
Sure,
shaft,
it's a higher launch and spin relative to the rest of the family.
Yeah.
So that's an easier way to say it. And then the product really just took off, and a key to longevity of that product is that VeloCore technology. It's that recipe mixed with varying bend profiles that lends itself to a lot of players. And we see players of all ball speeds and all skill levels enhance consistency, enhance ball speed, better results on miss hit shots, more consistent results on all shots across the board. And that's a cool thing to be able to speak to. And I don't think there's any golfer out there that hasn't heard that sort of pitch before. But, I think it's one of those things that if that weren't true and that didn't work, I don't think we'd see it running like it's running right now.
Yeah,
it obviously works. I mean, it's one thing to get out and be hot with a new color or whatever, but it's another thing to be dominant on tour and in retail sales at the same time. So it doesn't grow that big if it wasn't really a product that worked.
Absolutely.
And you see it in a lot of manufacturers, and I guess I don't want to uncover anything weird here, but like you see Ventus in a stock product and it hasn't got the VeloCore symbol. Correct. And you see it with the VeloCore symbol. Can you clarify what are the key differences in terms of like maybe what you'd expect the golf shaft to do differently, or
a little bit.
Just lighten that up
a little bit. If you remove that tech, I mean, that is sort of the key tech that takes performance to the next level. What I will say that even though we have Ventus product that doesn't have VeloCore in it, we're not going to put Fujikura on anything that doesn't perform at a very high performance rate. So it's a different material configuration. You might see some increased stability based on the player. You're going to see the effects that we talk about with VeloCore enhanced versus a non-VeloCore product. That's really the key difference between the two. I wouldn't say that one is engineered to alter ball flight or things like that. It's really just
Well, it's a cost thing too, right? I mean, you got expensive material is VeloCore stuff that you're putting in.
Exactly.
And then some, OEM stock products and stuff. There's just not the margin in it.
It's just it's a different product configuration. But then, you fast forward the clock a little bit, and Ventus is doing great. And like I told you in the beginning of this podcast, we're pretty high on innovation, and we always want to do better. So you have a product meeting with the leadership, and you kind of look around the room and you go, we'd like to do something to add to the Ventus line. And I think goal number one should be don't screw it up.
Yeah, right.
Yeah. I think that's step one.
That's a good goal.
That's step, and from there, let's branch out and sort of build on that profile. So that was sort of the introduction of Ventus TR, and that TR product really came from some pretty serious R&D. So when we talk about bend profiles, right, we talk a lot about handle stiffness, midsection, and tip section. That's kind of how we break a shaft down.
Yep.
When we talk about torque, it's a little bit of a mystery number. You guys know this because you do a lot of data collection with torque and torque values and how that changes and shifts. But what's interesting is we've been conditioned to have this singular number in our head of, I need 2.5, I need 3.1, I can't hit anything over this or under that. And really, that's just a holistic number of the twist of the shaft. You clamp two ends, you give it a twist, and there's your number.
Yeah.
What we started to do was, what if we look at that holistically? Yes, but what if we look at how torque changes within certain sections of the shaft? Why don't we measure what the torque and twist is in the butt and in the mid and in the tip? We measure that stuff when we talk about bend profile and stiffness. Why don't we do it with torque? So we built a machine, and we started doing it. And we started seeing some really interesting things. Now, combine that with our Enzo Analytics motion capture software. Now we've got two pretty powerful tools that we're using side by side. We're using motion capture data, and then we're using kind of raw measurement data. And what we found is, if there was one singular thing we heard about Ventus, and this is specifically about the blue profile from higher ball speed players, and remember, this is before black and red.
Right.
It was, feels maybe a touch soft in the handle section. And comparatively to the red and the black, it is softer on the handle. That's why players really tend to gravitate towards it. It's really easy to feel that shaft load in transition because it's got some give to it. So we go, all right, let's check this out. So we go back and we start to look at Enzo data really specifically, and we start to see, sure enough, at higher ball speeds, there's a section, and you'll see it on the TR series, that's kind of like that see-through window. Yeah. There's a section of that shaft that is susceptible to extra twist and kind of motion during the transition and downswing, especially when it gets more aggressive at higher ball speeds. So then we say, okay, the easiest way to address this is we can just make it stiffer in that section, right? And then the question is, well, how do we do that? Because we don't want to alter the shaft so much that it's an entirely different beast. We want to keep the key DNA in there. So then we start to explore materials, and that's where we start to look at things like spread toe material. And you're looking at materials that are incredibly, incredibly lightweight and super, super strong. And spread toe is kind of like a basket weave pattern of carbon fiber that can just take load and stress in a lot of different directions in a really lightweight package. So now we start to say, all right, well, where's the exact section we need to integrate this material? And then if we do that, then we see that vet out on Enzo Analytics. Yeah, we actually did corral some of that. We made this product that much more accurate and that much tighter. Then we run it through a torque measurement system. Yep, we bumped up torque by 10% in this section from what it was before. So we start to use analytics and measurement way before we even get it into a player's hands. And what's great about that is we start to eliminate some of the trial and error of shaft development.
Right. So it's like rapid prototyping.
Yeah. So we're looking at, a handful or less final versions versus 10 of, well, this one's a little better. Let's try it a little stiffer here. And so it's really cool to see all that stuff come together. So when you look at the TR line, we say, okay, what have we done? We've increased consistency. We've done all these things. What does that do to overall performance? And what we see is it actually starts to reduce launch and spin compared to its original counterpart. And it's going to change feel for the player because you're stiffening up a section where a player feels the shaft bend during transition. They feel it load. So it's going to change feeling as well. And we looked at that and said, why are we trying to replace anything? Really what we've done is we've just built out a broader array of product that is even more specifically tailored to more specific types of golfer. So it's a beautiful thing for fitters. We started to say the blue was good, maybe a little soft. I tried the black, not really for me. And then we start to see these TR blues just sort of slot right in the middle.
Between the two.
Yeah. So, and that's sort of the way that it played out. That was sort of how it came from where it is to where it is. And it's been awesome. I mean, we love to see the adoption rate, of course. I mean, it's definitely our goal that we want our products to perform at the highest level, tour level, but also, we don't discount how important golf is and how important golf equipment is to the amateur golfer. I mean, this is our hobby. This is a sport that we all love, and we want every little inch of advantage we can possibly get. And so we're happy to bring that to players.
Does TR stand for anything?
It doesn't. We get that question a lot. Yeah. So we have a speeder TR.
Oh, that's right. You did, didn't you? A while ago.
Right. Yeah. So in that product line, it kind of means tour rated or tour ready or whatever you want to call it. We liked it. It has some sort of company history to it. We wanted to differentiate that this is a different type of Ventus, but it's not a Ventus, right? So we wanted to have a way to differentiate that. So TR is a sort of a house name for us. It doesn't have a specific, it doesn't mean tour ready. It'd be kind of funny if we called a part tour ready when its predecessor was already dominating the tour, right? Exactly, so that doesn't make a tremendous amount of sense, right? But yeah, that's where the name comes from. I've seen some funny ones. I've seen it means torsionally reinforced. That was probably the best one.
Actually, it makes
sense.
Kind
of smart, yeah.
Because it is, in general, they're lower torque, right?
Yeah, so and I can't remember who told me that, so there might be some royalties owed on this conversation. But I was like, yeah, it's pretty good. You're looking for a marketing job, you know?
Nice. And I just wanted to pick like some cool stories. Obviously, this has been in so many tour players' hands. Has there any been like a change, like a big wow moment with tour players that you can talk about?
Yeah, not really specifically, but what I will say is we definitely get our tour reports. We have an amazing tour team, and their relationships with equipment manufacturers and players are just second to none. And I think the big humbling step for us and a testament to what those guys have done over the last 20 years is you get a chance for players to test your product. Yeah. So I think the coolest story to us is that you get requests from the best players in the world that want to try your equipment, and your equipment is being recommended to them by their sort of trusted staff, whether that's fitters, coaches, club builders, whatever that is. And then to see that stick and to read a tour report and say, you know, we built this for XYZ player, you know, and then a couple weeks later, you see that on TV on Sunday in the winner's circle, that's the coolest feeling you can have, right?
Yeah.
Yeah. So there's, you know, we don't pay any of our players, so there's not really, we don't talk about specifics, but I'm sure you guys can extrapolate. There's been a handful of players that have switched, and we kind of look around the office.
More than a handful.
Yeah, exactly. Right.
You know, you see some big names, and you kind of look around the office and go, "Oh, it's makes you feel pretty good."
Yeah. You know, you talked about like little margins for improvement. Is there anything that you're looking at now, and you still see a gap within the line of like, I mean,
a pretty full line now. I mean, you got 50 grams up to 80. So pretty. Any thought of doing a 40 gram version of Ventus?
We've been requested to do it. You know, we've been asked
for the Japanese market and stuff.
Would we consider doing that and maybe a red profile or even a blue? That's been brought up. I don't know. I will tell you that you know, sort of behind the curtain, one thing that we're working towards is whatever tech that we have that we know works. I think our main goal, especially with the Ventus line of product, would be less about increasing SKU count and more about how can we make that tech that much better, right? What is the next generation of that premium product?
Yeah, you've got a lot of SKUs covered as far as, you know, you got obviously 3 different, you know, red, blue, and black in, you know, 50 grams to 80 grams. And then you got the TR.
Yep.
Which is kind of right between the two. I mean, it's just basically, as far as most of the stuff we're seeing, it's about a half a flex stiffer.
Yeah,
is that about right?
I'd say that's true.
It's mostly from the lower torque.
Yeah, I'd say that's totally true. And we saw that with player testing as well. It's just
is there a difference in launch profiles between the TR and the regular one overall?
I would say, as a general rule, each TR counterpart will launch a little lower and spin a little less than its.
So you'd see that's kind of what we're seeing.
Yeah, so you'd see probably, I guess, again, I'm going to use highest launching. I'm going to use quotes.
Highest launching. Right.
So you'd run the gamut between Ventus red at the higher end all the way to TR black at the lowest end.
Right.
Everything kind of just slots.
Yeah, right. Along the line.
Yeah. Is the Velocore predominantly in the tip? Is that just where it is in the Gulf shaft?
No, it really runs full length, and that's really kind of what's the magic of that tech, is that you are looking at a stability platform that encompasses the whole shaft. Now, we can also do things specifically with tip sections. So you see like a Ventus blue and a Ventus black have incredibly stiff tip sections.
Right.
But yeah, that material and that integration offers stability primarily because it is the entire platform of the shaft. And then we can alter bend profiles around that platform. So once we kind of have the guts figured out, now we can make different profiles with red and black. Now we can make different handle sections, mid sections, tip sections. And now it just gives us a lot of levers to pull to get that much more precise.
Yeah, awesome. Did you have anything you wanted to touch on in terms of the line there?
Not really. It's just, you know, just overall, you know, I think what we're seeing a little bit, and people get a little confused by that. I just definitely want to clarify that the red is really a mid-launching shaft as far as everything we see, and you guys agree with that, right? So
yeah, and you see you know, you and I were talking before we started hitting record. You know, you see reds in play on tour.
And drivers, right? Which you some think drivers, a high launching shaft, that doesn't happen, right?
Not really, no. No. So that's kind of the important thing to denote, that we do make what we would call a high launch shaft. You know, we make some ultralight, ultra high, kick it up in the air shafts. You know, that's what they're geared to do. And this family, this is just the highest launching one of the set.
Yeah. Would you consider at some point making a higher launching version of Ventus? And what color do you make that?
I don't know.
Typically kind of known from some other company a million years ago. The red and the blue, kind of always out there.
Yeah, but, it's kind of a funny thing. We've sort of conditioned our customers to associate that, you know, color code with what shafts are going to do. And we love it, and fitters love it specifically. They tell us all the time. That's really great feedback that we get, is I know when I look at the wall, I know where I'm kind of going, right? Where that becomes challenging is sometimes we have discussions about veering away from it, or we want to try other things, and it's kind of like,
they don't make a red shaft that launches really low.
Yeah,
that
confuse
people, right?
You know? So we're cognizant of it, and that started, you know, even we did that kind of in our Atmos line of product. You know, you had a blue, a black, and a red, and it's kind of become ingrained a little bit. And it makes life easy for club fitters, which we like.
And what about a hybrid line? I've seen a red OEM Ventus, but not a Velocore, right?
We don't do one. We don't do a Velocore kind of powered hybrid in a red. We just do the blue and the black. That's kind of a request. You know, that's some place we might go. And then, you know, questions that we get is, you know, if we start to integrate some of the tech that we see in a TR, does that make sense in a hybrid? You know, if we start to integrate some materials in different sections, and again,
so right now you just have the blue and the black.
Correct.
In the hybrid.
Yeah, and again, like
a red hybrid might make some sense.
It could. You know, it's something that we've definitely tested and looked at, and I think that's when we talk about hybrids. It's we have to gear our thinking with shafts to what club we're trying to complement, right? So when we look at tech, it's we can see this tech has some usage and some value in different product lines, but then it's like, all right, if we look at a hybrid, what is a player with a hybrid trying to achieve? Are they, you know, and so what flexes does that lend itself to, and what bend profiles does that lend itself to? And that goes all the way into if you're incorporating new material. If you took like a Ventus TR profile and tried to make that into a hybrid, does that really increase consistency in that golf club like it does in the woods? We'd test it and find out. So we are adamant that we're not going to put any sort of tech that has proven performance benefits associated with it on anything that doesn't match up to that. And truthfully, sometimes you can do some configurations and some things that look great on paper, and you have players hit them. And,
some strange things.
You know, sometimes it just doesn't take. Luckily, we're able to vet that out before we make a bunch of prototypes. You know, we can kind of have a good idea of, like, if we start to move these parts and pieces around, this is probably the result of that. So we sometimes wish it was as easy as just like, well, let's just do, you know, let's throw some material in there.
Let's call it the best.
Yeah, but we're definitely.
You got this big variable, which is players feel, and nobody really knows what that is. But they need to find something that feels good to people.
Sure, I agree.
That's different for different people, obviously, and nobody really knows what that is.
Well,
you can't do it until you try it.
And that's the beauty of having a line where you have multiple bend profiles, right? When you talk about bend profile, you're really catering to player feel. And
I think you can pretty much put any decent player with some speed in Ventus, one or the other.
I would agree with
that. You pretty much cover everybody. You know, the only thing Ventus is probably missing is, you know, the really light, high launching part of that, but that's not what it's designed for.
Sure.
It's kind of got the tour kind of concept behind it. So
what I love about Ventus as well is, if you got black in the driver, you don't need to go black all the way through.
No, definitely not.
But you can probably play Ventus all the way through to your hybrid. If you find the one that works in the driver, you're probably going to find a fairway and hybrid that go with it as well.
Yep.
So
you wouldn't be surprised to learn that our entire office does play Ventus.
No, so does ours.
Shocking. I love to hear that.
No,
I love to hear that.
We were actually on the golf course this weekend, and we thought we should do a tweet out there to you guys, because we all had a Ventus in, and we looked at that moment on the tee.
All Ventus.
Yeah, we looked around and we were like,
that doesn't happen around here very often, I can tell you.
No,
we got a lot of access to a lot of stuff. So
I like the sound.
It's pretty unusual. You got three guys out of a group, you know, all the guys in that group of golf clubs that all playing the same shaft.
They were all different Ventus as well, you know. Dell had the blue, Ivan had the black, I had the TR red, and I think the other guy had the TR blue. So it was all different stuff.
Love it. Yeah. That's fantastic.
It was good fun. Cool. Well, thank you so much again, mate. Appreciate your time as always.
Anytime. You got it. Happy to do it.
Thank you, sir.
Thanks.
Cheers.